Kia ora Tefano, welcome along to No Boundaries. I am Laura McGoldrick, very excited to have a couple of special guests alongside me today. Coming in through the screen, one from Dunedin, Mike Hesson, the fabulous Mike Hesson, and joining us
Laura, how are you?
the first time on No Boundaries is Carl Johnson, KJ, in charge of FMG Stadium and Seddon Park down there. Look, I'm going to have to come straight to you, KJ, because we did see the Black Caps, watch the rain fall actually in Greater Noida in India in that one-off test against Afghanistan. Not a ball being bowled, one of only 8 test matches to be abandoned without a ball being bowled, and we saw some of the most dynamic, extraordinary scenes from the grounds when they're trying ever so hard to get this test match underway. A couple of grown men chasing wet bits of grass with a fan. We have got some questions around the extension cord there, but KJ, they were cutting bits of this, like, the block out. Like, talk us through what you saw and how you thought perhaps that maybe that some of the techniques could be improved.
Yeah, good morning, Laura. Good morning, Mike. Nice to be on the show for the first time. Look, all I can say is, man, I can see the frustrations of a lot of people, and that's a hugely tough gig. I've never used an office fan on my outfield before, and I don't think I do have enough extension cords to reach that far. But I guess you're doing everything that they possibly can to get a game of cricket started. And yeah, we did see lots of pictures of them moving in turf. I've never done it to that extreme. We do now and again replace little bits where bowlers' footmarks on their run-ups when they do come in. 5 days for a bowler bowling on an outfield does wear the grass out. But that was pretty extreme what they're doing. And I got a feel for them, man. They just want to test cricket. You can tell that. It's monsoon season over there, and 1,200 mils of rain, which when you think about it, it's 1.2 metres of rain in 7 days. There's going to be no outfield anywhere that is going to handle that amount of rain. But pretty tough, and we didn't get to see any cricket, and that's, I guess, is the real frustrating thing about it.
Hugely frustrating. Hess, as the players and coaches would have been involved as well, feeling it as well. I can only remember one other game, I think, that was abandoned when the sun was out. And on those first couple of days, the sun was out in Greater Noida. It looked good. It looked like, we should be seeing some test cricket. But real frustration for Coach Gary Stead and his men.
Yeah, especially heading to Sri Lanka and India, which are going to be a greater task. And I think it also would have given an opportunity for at least one of those young seamers to get an opportunity early on in the tour. For Gary Stead and co to find out which way they were going to go. So a real missed opportunity, and one that they will be no doubt very frustrated about. It's interesting. I mean, the amount of rain that KJ talked about there is obviously immense. But I mean, India's grounds around, the main venues, the ones where India play, the drainage is incredible now. A lot of them have those aerated pipes under the ground where they blow hot air, they suck moisture out of the ground, and it's very similar to some other grounds in New Zealand. I mean, the one in Mount Maunganui, which obviously that drainage is unbelievable in terms of pretty much as soon as it stops, you can play. And KJ can tell us exactly how much moisture they would be able to soak up and whether it's even close to that. But, I mean, I've sat on grounds in India where they are quite unique in terms of how they get the ground ready. And you look at it and go, well, you would never see this in New Zealand, but they do normally find a way. But Greater Noida looked like the drainage was just not even close to being able to deal with that amount of rain.
It's one of those things that when you sit back on the telly and you watch, it's all very well and good of us to go, well, it looks like we should be playing cricket there, but they often talk about that one piece of or area of the ground that is particularly wet or has still got too much moisture in it. KJ, can you explain to those of us who are just fans and don't know so much about the grounds, when they say about one particular area, what is it? Why is one part of the ground? Is it because of where the sun is, or what might it be that means that we don't get on to watch Test cricket because of one patch of grass on a ground?
Yeah, normally what does happen, it's in the areas where I guess it's the most busiest for fielders and stuff, and normally, say in New Zealand, it's around the outside of the wicket block. So what we actually do here at Seddon Park, we actually put our covers on the block, as what we should, but we put pipes underneath it and stop the water from running onto the outfield. Because if you've got 20 mil of rain, the outfield's got 20 mils, plus all the water that's on the block has run off. So the edges around the covers is traditionally where the areas that are, we do have some challenges. So that's normally where players and umpires and officials will have a bit of a look at first. So we actually put the water down some drain pipes that actually go off the ground without having to run across the outfield, if that makes sense. So that's a little bit what we do. You did note that they did put covers on the outfield. I guess as every day went on, they put more and more covers. But the water was running off the covers onto the outside on the outfield, so the outfield was getting wetter. So, and being a soil outfield, they were always were going to be challenged for it to dry. I've done a little bit of work in India myself, in a place called Pune, where they built a ground for the IPL. That was a sand outfield. Now that drains incredibly well, and that's what I think, Mike, you're talking about, where the grounds around India now have improved. But a soil outfield with 1,200 mil of rain. I had a wee look this morning just so that I knew what I was talking about. The Auckland floods that they had in when Elton John concert got cancelled had 307 mils over 4 days. So that's a quarter of what Noida received. So, extreme event. I guess the question you'd probably say is why play cricket in the monsoon, period where the venue is.
That is actually a very good question. And yeah, you do have to feel for them because they were working overtime. I mean, the fact that they were running around with an office fan does suggest to you that they were trying everything that they could think possible. Yes, for the players, though, at what point do they go, right, let's just call this thing? We're 3.5 days in, we've seen nothing but rain from here on in, we can't see anything else on the rain radar. That must have been so frustrating for them. How do you best utilise that time as a team? Is it a great way to bond? Do you play a lot of cards? What sort of happens as part of the team when you have something like that happen?
Oh, all of that, and plenty of sort of shenanigans in the changing room. A lot of mini games of cricket with balls flying everywhere. Guys, they get cabin fever. And I see that there were times where once you go to the ground, you can't leave because of the PMOA area, the anti-corruption. It's not like you can go to the ground, see that it's wet, and then go, right, are we going to leave again? Once you decide to head to the ground, you are stuck there for the day. So until the game is called off. So it's a challenging day. Yeah, a lot of guys would say, no, we're going to stay at the hotel and they'll be playing hallway cricket. As I said, probably maybe getting on PlayStation, plenty of cards floating around these days. But yeah, it'll be really interesting. And as I said, there'll be some that will want to get to the ground. And I saw that some players actually trained on the outfield, on the pitches on the ground. So the side pitches were actually fine to play that had been covered. And obviously with the sun out, they sort of wanted to make use of that. So there was some players that got plenty of time in the middle, albeit 3 or 4 pitches along from the playing area.
So, KJ, we see what the players do, we hear what the players get up to. When the rain is falling, what are the ground staff actually doing? Because there's not much you can do when the rain is falling. So what are you guys getting up to?
Well, we actually do, to be honest, Laura. The best thing for us to do is get rid of as much water as we can while it's raining. So,
oh, really?
When it's raining, we're at our busiest. We've probably got the greatest job in the world when the sun's out because we're sitting back watching cricket. But when it's raining, we're certainly earning our keep. So what does happen around a game? So up until the toss, I'm in charge of the ground. I can do whatever I like. So if it's raining or whatever, we might put super soppers out there, or we do have a fan that we tow around behind the back of our John Deere Gator, but we've got a big blower that will actually blow artificial wind across the ground because actually the wind is what will dry it. So the idea that the Indians had with their fan was a great one. It's just they probably needed 300 of them. But so what happens once the toss is had? So the umpires will come out. I hand the ground over to them, and they'll say, right, the toss is now going to take place. So now the ground is actually in charge. The umpires are in charge of the ground. So any instructions to me have to come via the umpires, and I pretty much get to do what they want, or what they ask of, sorry. So, again, the toss is a real critical part. The toss didn't happen in this game, so the ground staff can do whatever they like. So hence they obviously got in, replaced some turf, had the fans out. So that's around the rules of a game of domestic or international cricket.
And so Mike Hesson is someone who's worked a lot with KJ, who was a wonderful groundsman. Like, we are so lucky to have him here in Aotearoa. Did you ever have any disagreements about what you turned up and saw at KJ's house, or no? You always liked the pitches that KJ delivered for you, and the outfield always looked spick and span?
To be honest, we were pretty fortunate. And I mean, KJ's probably sitting there going, remembering, what happened, but nothing did. I mean, often you'd turn up and the opposition would see the green grass and go, what is going on here? Because often KJ would have this long pile green grass, which You know, as a subcontinent player, you would turn up and think that it's going to go all around the place. And I guess as New Zealanders, we knew, yep, sure, for an hour or so, it'll do a little bit. But then that live grass actually sucks the moisture out of the pitch. So then the pitch dries quite quickly. So once you sort of understand the process that KJ goes through, you turn up at the ground and it's almost an advantage, you know, as a local, you know, with the local side, because you know how it's going to evolve, rather than, you know, as someone from the outside, you turn up and you actually think it's going to be a 2-day test, and often it turns into a great test match. So, and 1-day wickets we often played on the Waikari soil, which was a pretty known quantity, and the Kakanui that came from up south as well. So, you know, KJ knows his wickets. We were pretty lucky. We had some great games at Seddon Park during my time, and obviously before and after.
Yeah, absolutely. KJ, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really do appreciate your time. You do a wonderful job. We love you.
Well, look, thanks. It's great. And we're really lucky in New Zealand to have some awesome venues. And, you know, New Zealand Cricket do a great job around the warrant of fitnesses that we do have to meet. There's lots of specifications. And one of the things that we do have to meet is drainage or infiltration rates of outfield. So really fortunate in New Zealand that we've got some fantastic venues. And we're looking forward to having you know, a huge summer of cricket here again with you know, England, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan in our country. So here's to having lots of sunshine and lots of cricket, eh?
Absolutely, mate. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Cheers, KJ.
So now we move our attention to the White Ferns as they get ready for what is a heck of a couple of months coming up. We start with a series over in Australia and then followed up very swiftly by the T20 World Cup, which is now happening in Dubai. Mike Hesson, I mean, I love the White Ferns. I think they're a fabulous team, and I like to think that things are going in the right direction. But we did just see an almighty, and I know they've had some time in between this series now over in England, but they did not win a game. They lost all 7 of their matches, and I'm not sure how they're going to take what happened over there and fix things in time before they hit Australia, which we know all too well how great a side they are. They are the world champions, for goodness sake. And then we go on to the World Cup. Where do you think, from everything you've heard and everything you've seen, where do you think this current White Ferns side sits?
Well, I don't think there's a huge amount that Ben Sawyer and the selectors can do. I mean, there's not a huge amount of depth, and you can tell by the selection of this side that there's either a lot of confidence in the current group that they're making good progress, or there's not a lot of confidence in those coming up underneath. I mean, Izzy Gaze is the only new player to go to a World Cup in the squad, and she is exciting. And there's, you know, in playing a difficult role through the middle, trying to come in and add some impetus, she's certainly able to do that on a couple of occasions, even in England. So, you know, there's high hopes for her to develop into one of the key White Fern players. But outside of that, it's the big three, isn't it? It's, you know, Devine, Bates and Mealy Kerr, who there's huge expectations on to drive this White Ferns team to success. And it's been really challenging because the other teams around the world have developed probably quicker, if we're in all honesty, than the White Ferns have. Huge amount of depth in Australia. We know England, which we've just talked about. India are developing nicely. Pakistan obviously beat New Zealand in New Zealand, so they're a force to be reckoned with in the UAE. Sri Lanka, the same. Sri Lanka have got some real talent. You think of Chamari Atapatu, she's absolutely world class and can win a game on her own as a power hitter and an off spinner. So there's no easy games coming up for the White Ferns, and I think in all honesty we probably need to just temper our expectations a little bit. I think that the White Ferns are going to be able to turn it around that quickly is probably tough. But saying that, I think a World Cup format where, you know, one-off games certainly suit the White Ferns, where they do have that lack of depth, as opposed to a series where you've got to be good throughout.
Those one-off games, though, in our pool matches are India, Australia, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. And most of those games, I believe, actually are played at Dubai International Cricket Stadium. Sharjah is an interesting one in terms of a pitch. There was a bit going on. I worked on a tournament earlier this year over there, and they'd redone the pitch at Sharjah. Sharjah used to have that beautiful sheen across it. You could almost look like you could do your makeup, actually, and it was like looking into a mirror, the pitch, but it's changed completely. I wonder if that might actually balance the ledger a little more for them because of what it was and wasn't doing in Sharjah. But the conditions over there, could you say they suit the White Ferns in any way, shape or form? Or what do you think where do you think their greatest strength will lie going into this tournament?
Well, I think we have strength in our spin department. I think Fran Jonas is progressing nicely. Mealy Kerr obviously is world class. They've brought back Leah Kasparovic. Eden Carson is a really promising off spinner. So from that perspective, and even Susie Bates is bowling some off spin now as well. So that will come into action at the Dubai Stadium and Sharjah, as you've alluded to. The only challenge to that is our ability to play spin. And that's going to be challenged, especially I think at Sharjah, where there's still not a huge amount of pace on the ball. And a lot of our players love the laps and reverse laps. And if you don't have pace on the ball, it's really difficult to get value for your shots. It's more a power ground. It's more a ground where you've got to be able to hit the ball down the ground. It's not a big ground, but you have to have that power to hit the ball over the fence. So we will be challenged, no doubt, in those games from a batting perspective. Yeah, I think although it's a strength, as I said, from a bowling point of view, we will be challenged in terms of how we're going to develop enough runs to be able to compete with all four of those teams who have probably more experience in the subcontinent than we do.
So we've heard recently that Sophie Devine is stepping down as captain of the T20 side after this World Cup. She wasn't at the announcement of the team, which I thought was odd, and I know she had an injury, so I hope that gets better very quickly. The natural, or it seems like the next fit for being a captain would be Mealy Kerr, but I quite like Mealy Kerr just doing her thing, playing her cricket, but I don't know who the next natural captain in that side would be. Could you see does one stick out for you, Hess?
Well, Mealy Kerr does, but I guess, when she's your best player, best all-round player, especially in those conditions, bear in mind, Sophie Devine's, probably had her best cricket behind her. Hopefully not, but she's been exceptional for a long time. Mealy Kerr is certainly the next one that we're hoping is going to step up and be our key player for many years to come. Maddie Green has had some experience from a captaincy point of view, and certainly has been seen as a leader in the past. She's filled in a number of different roles, whether it be middle order. She took up keeping there a little bit. She's a talented cricketer. But outside of that, there's not a huge amount. I mean, you're not going to go back to Susie, who's obviously done it, very well in the past, but she's once again nearing the end. So it's really difficult. And whether Mealy Kerr can take on that role, wants to take on that role, that'll be the discussion that I'm sure, Ben Sawyer and co will be having. But, you certainly don't want her to be clammed up. You need her to free up and play that expansive game that we know she can play. And we've seen it in the WPL, where she's actually come out and been really explosive. And hopefully we can see that in this T20 World Cup.
Yeah, I'm certainly glad she is on our team. We're going to head out to the airport now, where the White Ferns took off earlier this morning. We'll catch up with Dean Brownlee and Izzy Gaze.
Well, Izzy, obviously a special time off to your first T20 World Cup. Yeah, super special time. Really excited to head over there and really looking forward to the opportunity. Obviously some great preparation. You're going to play Australia first and there's some warm-up games in the UAE, so really good preparation going into that World Cup. Yeah, definitely. We know Aussie's a really quality team, so I think it's going to be some great prep. I think regardless of results, it's some really good stuff for us to get in before we head over. It's obviously been, I suppose, a steep learning curve the last 18 months or so within the team, and obviously coming off collectively with the team a disappointing tour of England. For you individually, with the last couple of months that you've been back in New Zealand, I suppose, what have you been trying to work on, to improve your game? I think we've taken heaps of learnings from that England tour. I think personally with the bat, I just want to show intent every innings, and I think that's going to come off could be half the time, so I've just got to accept that. But yeah, show the intent, and with the gloves, just be as tidy as possible. So I've been working really hard, probably training to the extreme because we know the conditions could be tough. Collectively amongst the team, has there been some tough conversations, hard conversations about where the team's at and where you need to improve collectively? I'd say there's been some honest conversations just on what we need to work on and bring to this next World Cup. So, theme-wise, what are any themes within the team that you're really trying to focus on? I think with the bat, we want to all show with intent from the beginning, and everyone shows that in a different way. So I think that's a key thing. And with the bowlers, they've all got their clear plans, so that will be a good way to approach it. Dean, obviously a special time for the players going to a T20 World Cup, but also the support staff too. Yeah, anytime you go to a world competition, it's a great time for both support staff and players. I think all teams around the world come together and you chase that World Cup with victory for sure. Obviously some great preparation going into this World Cup. Certainly playing Australia sharpens the mind. Yeah, on the back of England, now Australia, get a couple of the best sides in the world. So we see what the best are like and we know, so we want to be prepared for that. And if we want to win the World Cup, we've got to beat the best. So it's great preparation for us. Obviously, you're coming off a difficult tour of England. Can you talk through from a coaching and support staff perspective, just the kind of conversations you've had with the team? I imagine there were some honest and tough conversations.
Yeah, we're always honest. The girls know where they're at, and what we're looking to do is push the type of play we want to be, type of team we want to be, and you know, they're embracing that, and it's going to take time for some of them. Some of them are young and some of them are experienced. So as a group, we know the team that we want to be, and we're working towards that.
As batting coach, how do you prioritise your time with the players? Obviously, you want to make sure that you're working with them all. How have you gone about, working with them and prioritising how much time you put into each player?
Yeah, with Craig McMillan coming on board, it's definitely been a huge help with that. So I guess between us, we've got around most players, and they've had a stint back in their MAs, so they've spent time with their own coaches as well. So between us, everyone's getting looked after, and yeah, every player needs work, and every player is looking to get better and looking to have a really good World Cup campaign. So everyone's getting what they need, and hopefully we have a great World Cup.
I know you can spend a lot of time honing your craft in the nets, but can you give me a bit of insight into how you also work on the mental game of the players? Because obviously that's a key factor.
Yeah, I guess they need to play more as well. So they're playing more games of cricket, learning how to work on the field against really good opposition. The more they experience that, the better player they're going to be. They do a lot of mental skills with their providers back home, so we encourage them all to work with them, and yeah, we're really confident about the way we're tracking and the team we want to be.
What kind of themes have you been working on? I imagine you've had a few camps leading into this World Cup. What kind of themes have you been working on with the players?
Yeah, I guess the World Cup was originally going to be based in Bangladesh, so playing against spin, I guess bowling spin was going to be a huge focus. I guess changing from Bangladesh to UAE makes it less spin friendly, but still spin conditions are a big factor there. So we've put a huge focus into playing spin, and obviously the way we want to play bowling spin as well.
Ultimately, New Zealand fans are obviously keen to see this team do well. You're confident as part of the coaching staff that we're going to see some good cricket from this team?
Yeah, I'd love to see some good cricket. I think we've got some really exciting young players who are ready to take international cricket, and I guess make a statement of the type of player they're going to be, and we're really excited by that. We've also matched them with some really experienced players who are world-class players. So yeah, really excited by the group we've got, and hopefully we can get the job done.
Thanks, mate.
And we certainly wish them all the very best of luck. It is very exciting, though, a World Cup, no matter where, no matter what. It is so exciting. So, Mike Hesson, they play the Aussies in a couple of games before they head over to Dubai. So we see Australia in 3 T20s, and then India is the first pool match that New Zealand has. How do you think the White Ferns are going to go? What are your predictions around those couple of games in the lead-up and that first pool game?
Well, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough for the White Ferns. And if they can pull off a win in the series against Australia, they will have some confidence heading into the World Cup. India are very well prepared. They've played a huge amount of cricket in those conditions in recent times. And I think they'll be one of the form players for the World Cup. So I think they'll be a little bit tough for the White Ferns, unfortunately.
I think they will be tough. I mean, it's really exciting for women's cricket, like how solid all of the teams actually do look at the moment. It is a very exciting prospect. It is going to be a great World Cup. And all of those games are going to be brought to you on Sky Sports, so you won't have to miss any of it. More cricket coming up, of course, the Black Caps getting ready to take on Sri Lanka in a test match. And they'll be chomping at the bit to get a bit of cricket under their belt. There's no doubt about it after what happened in Greater Noida. But your prediction, Sri Lanka, obviously they have plenty of confidence after just what happened in England, and obviously in their home conditions, it makes them, well, quite a task on the Black Caps' hands.
Yeah, it will be, and it will be harder, the fact that the Black Caps haven't had that game in India. Sri Lanka will be match hardened, albeit they've had 3 tests. They won the last one, but they've had those overs under the belt. They're in test match conditions, so it's going to be very tough for the Black Caps, and it's very tough for any side heading to Sri Lanka if they produce those Buntsons. That means your left arm spinner is going to open the bowling. You're going to have guys around the bat from the word go, and you're going to have relatively low scoring matches. So it's going to be a tough ask for the Black Caps, and they're going to certainly have to hit the ground running, which will be tough.
It absolutely will be tough, and we will have that for you on Sky Sports. Lovely timing too. You can finish off work, pop home, make your dinner and watch some Test cricket. It doesn't get much better than that. Mike Hesson, I want to thank you so much for your time today. You are fabulous, as are you. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time on No Boundaries.